Long before humans arrived, nature made glass in volcanic eruptions, cooling lava so fast that crystals never had time to form. Roughly 700,000 years ago in Kenya's Rift Valley, an ancient human ancestor called Homo erectus picked up a mysterious black stone. That was the first recorded time human hands ever touched glass. When struck with another rock, this material broke into edges so razor-thin they could slice clean through skin before you even felt it. This volcanic glass was called obsidian. It wasn't a window, a cup, or a telescope lens. It was just a super sharp rock that became humanity's very first cutting-edge tool. Volcanoes weren't the only creators. Whenever lightning struck desert sand, it instantly fused the grains into bizarre, hollow glass tubes. These fragile, natural glass formations are known as Fulgurites, literal frozen lightning bolts made of silica. And when giant meteorites slammed into the Earth, cosmic heat melted entire desert floors into sheets of pale yellow glass. Glass existed on Earth for billions of years before living creatures even evolved. Nature had the recipe down long before we did. For hundreds of thousands of years, early humans collected and used glass without having any clue what it was. They certainly didn't know that one day they'd figure out how to make it themselves and change the world forever. Before we go any further, let's clear up one of the most famous science myths. Glass is not a slow-flowing liquid. Old cathedral windows aren't thicker at the bottom because they're oozing downward. Medieval workers simply spun flat glass discs that were uneven, and builders installed the heavy side at the bottom. Physicists calculated that for a window to visibly flow at room temperature, it would take over 13.8 billion years, longer than the entire age of the universe. So what is glass, really? When most liquids cool down, their atoms lock into neat, orderly rows called crystals, like ice, salt, or metals. Glass is different. It's an amorphous solid. Its atoms cool so fast they get stuck in total chaos, just like a liquid frozen in place. It has the rigid strength of a solid, but the messy atomic layout of a liquid. It's a material permanently trapped halfway between two states of matter. Because it skipped the crystal stage entirely, scientists still debate its exact classification today. This atomic limbo gives glass bizarre superpowers that make it incredibly useful to us. It can be crystal clear, molten and bendable, dyed in brilliant colors, or stretched thinner than a human hair. A true scientific rebel. And to make it, all you need is a trip to the beach. The core ingredient of glass is plain sand, specifically silicon dioxide. But there's a big catch. Pure sand melts at a blistering 1,713 degrees Celsius. That was far hotter than any ancient furnace could reach. To bring the heat down, ancient workers added natron, a natural soda ash mineral scraped from dried lake beds. Natron acted as a flux, crashing the melting temperature down to an achievable 1,000 degrees. But there was another problem. Glass made of only sand and soda melts in the rain. It's completely water-soluble. To stabilize it, they threw in crushed limestone and seashells to provide calcium oxide, or lime. The magic ratio was born: 70% sand, 15% soda, and 10% lime. Remarkably, that exact same recipe, discovered thousands of years ago, makes almost every single piece of glass on Earth right now. 5,000 years later, the recipe hasn't changed. But who stumbled on this formula first? The real origin story is full of lucky accidents and astonishing beauty. A famous Roman myth claimed Venetian merchants accidentally melted glass over a beach campfire, but that fire wasn't nearly hot enough. Instead, glass was an accidental byproduct of ancient pottery kilns and copper smelting furnaces over 4,500 years ago. Chemical evidence proves that both Egypt and Mesopotamia discovered glass production completely independently. For its first 1,000 years, glass wasn't ordinary at all. It was an ultra-rare luxury, valued alongside gold and precious gemstones. Ancient royal letters show pharaohs trading glass as diplomatic treasures and complaining bitterly when the glass sent to them was poor quality. In royal Egyptian workshops, glassmakers crushed semi-melted mixtures into frit before remelting them at high heat, industrial chemistry in 1350 BC. This multi-stage firing cleared out air bubbles and produced clean, beautiful colors. When King Tut's tomb was unearthed, his ceremonial breastplate contained a yellow scarab carved from natural Libyan desert glass. That glass had formed 29 million years earlier when a meteor scorched the desert sands. Craftsmen carved a piece of cosmic history for a dead king simply because they thought it looked beautiful. For 15 centuries, making a hollow bottle meant painstakingly wrapping molten trails around a core of clay and dung. It took hours. Then, around 50 BC, someone along the Mediterranean coast attached hot glass to a hollow iron pipe and blew. Glassblowing was an enormous technological leap. Instead of taking hours, an artisan could shake a vessel in minutes. A maker named Ennion even began stamping "Ennion made this" on his cups, creating one of history's first brand logos. The Romans industrialized the process so thoroughly that a glass drinking cup cost less than a single meal. Romans also created something we take for granted today: glass windows that let in light while keeping the storm outside. They even mastered optical illusions. The famous Lycurgus cup appears jade green when lit from the front, but shines glowing ruby red when lit from behind. It turns out the Romans embedded gold and silver nanoparticles, creating nanotechnology 1,600 years before modern science named it. Glass had transformed from a luxury for royalty into an everyday essential for civilization. Following the fall of Rome, Islamic artisans in Syria and Egypt mastered intricate enameling and gilded mosque lamps. Meanwhile, in Venice, glass was treated as a dangerous state secret. In 1291, all furnaces were banished to the island of Murano. Murano artisans were treated like nobility and carried swords, but if they tried to flee the island, they faced harsh punishment. In 1450, Angelo Baravere invented Cristallo, the world's first ultra-clear, completely colorless glass. France desperately wanted these secrets. King Louis XIV's minister lured Venetian artisans to Paris with bribes, culminating in the legendary Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, a colossal political statement in glass. Before flat glass mirrors, people only saw themselves in dim, blurry bronze or silver bowls. Glass mirrors revealed crisp, true human reflections for the first time in history. In 1835, German chemist Justus von Liebig coated glass with non-toxic metallic silver, giving us the exact reflection technology that hangs in your bathroom today. In late 13th century Italy, glass did something even more revolutionary. It gave aging scholars their eyesight back through spectacles. Paired with the printing press, reading glasses extended intellectuals' careers by decades, sparking an explosion in mass literacy. In 1608, a Dutch spectacle maker aligned two curved glass lenses in a tube to patent the first telescope. Galileo pointed this glass tube up at the night sky and looked at Jupiter. He saw 4 moons orbiting the giant planet, proof that not everything revolves around the Earth. Looking through 2 small pieces of curved glass shattered our ancient view of the cosmos. On the other end of the spectrum, Anton van Leeuwenhoek ground tiny spherical glass beads to build microscopes. Looking at a drop of water, he was the first human to ever see living bacteria and microscopic life. One piece of shaped glass pointed at the stars, another into a drop of water. Glass revealed that the universe was infinitely larger and infinitely smaller than anyone had ever dreamed. In 1903, French chemist Edouard Benedictus accidentally knocked a glass flask off his shelf. It hit the floor and cracked, but held together. A dried liquid plastic film inside kept the shards in place. That clumsy accident gave us laminated safety glass, protecting drivers in every car windshield today. Then, in 1952, engineer Alistair Pilkington had a radical idea: pour molten glass directly onto a bath of liquid molten tin. Because glass is lighter than tin, it floated on the metal, spreading into a completely flat, mirror-smooth sheet under gravity. After 7 years of testing, Pilkington introduced the float glass process to the world. Today, over 90% of all flat architectural glass in the world is manufactured this way. Every window you've looked through today was made by floating liquid glass on liquid metal. A brilliantly simple application of fluid physics that cost £7 million to perfect. Flat glass was conquered, but the next step went microscopic. In 1966, Charles Cow proposed something seemingly impossible: sending information through ultra-pure strands of glass using light. By purifying silica, engineers trapped laser beams inside thin glass fibers, bouncing data across kilometers with barely any signal loss. Today, over 500 million kilometers of optical fibers crisscross under our oceans. Over 95% of all global internet traffic travels through glass threads at the speed of light. The internet is glass. Meanwhile, a Cold War experiment from the 1960s on ultra-strong, chemically strengthened glass sat abandoned in a filing cabinet for 45 years. In 2006, Steve Jobs told Corning Glass that Apple needed tough, scratch-resistant glass for the very first iPhone touchscreen. Corning revived their forgotten formula, submerging glass in a hot potassium bath to pack the surface under extreme tension. They named it Gorilla Glass, ultra-strong, super flexible, and delivered just in time for the iPhone launch. Today, that Cold War invention protects over 8 billion devices across the globe. Every tap, swipe, and scroll connects you directly to this incredible material. From a prehistoric volcanic rock to the smartphone screen right in front of you, glass has been a 5,000-year adventure. Humans didn't sit down and plan it. It was an accidental byproduct of ancient kilns that curious minds refused to ignore. Because the right elements existed across ancient lands, the accident was guaranteed to happen somewhere. At the end of the day, glass is just humble sand, heated and shaped by human hands. Yet from sand, we made windows to protect us, mirrors to see ourselves, and lenses to chart the cosmos. We turned cosmic meteor glass into royal amulets, and molten sand into cables carrying the sum of all human knowledge beneath our seas. And all of this happened because thousands of years ago, when something strange formed in a fire, instead of sweeping it away, someone decided to look closer. That curiosity didn't just give us glass, it shaped our modern world.